It does appear that the river is receding. What's it like where you are? You're down at South Bank. You're right there on the river itself. What are the levels looking like there?
Sharon, the news is all good down here. You are right, it is falling, and it's falling quite quickly. In fact, from the mark I've been using here since we've been here this morning, I think we're between 150 millimetres and 200 millimetres below what we saw at what we imagined to be the peak here, probably around 12 o'clock, just after 12 o'clock. So the water level is definitely falling, and that is a great sign. But while things are good here, it's obviously still difficult times up in Bundaberg. We're hearing reports of a partial or collapse of a bridge up there as well. Just another couple of points to mention. 6,500 insurance claims already, totalling about $72 million. But of course, that is probably and will grow. We're talking over 1,000 properties in Bundaberg alone. So to hear a little bit more about the latest hotspots and what's going on from Emergency Management Queensland, let's check in now with Michael Scanlon.
Thanks, Bill. Currently underway at EMQ at the moment is a disaster meeting with the heads of emergency services across Queensland. They're assessing the disaster right across Queensland at the moment. Deputy Commissioner Ross Barnett has been in that meeting and is kindly giving us a few moments of his time. Deputy Commissioner, thanks for speaking with us. What has been covered so far in the meeting?
Well, we've just covered the activity that's going on in a whole range of areas around southeast Queensland. Obviously, the key interest remains around the Bundaberg area, just evacuating people out of flooded areas in North Bundaberg, getting them over to evacuation centres on the south side of the town. Also, concerns in other areas to a lesser extent, Gympie, Maryborough. On the south side of Brisbane, obviously, the Albert River is rising slowly, but Bundaberg remains the key issue for us.
We'll stay in Bundaberg. From your perspective, how do you perceive that effort by emergency services, police, fireys, ambos? They're doing an amazing job.
They are doing an amazing job. The ADF are obviously a key component of that as well. The river's at around about 9.4 and rising very slowly. That's completely uncharted waters for the response by emergency services. It hasn't happened this century. So we're in uncharted territory. The response and the coordination between all of the agencies has been absolutely outstanding. Add to that level of complexity, the arrangements are underway to evacuate some patients out of the hospital. Everyone knows that's a major logistical operation just in its own right. So all of the agencies, as always in these circumstances, are working brilliantly together.
A disaster on this scale, uncharted territory in Bundaberg, what are the main problems that emergency services face in a situation like this?
Well, one of the key things is that the town's completely isolated by road at the moment, so the ability to get in supplies, fuel, essential issues like that are restricted to the airport and the use of ADF assets to get in bulk. Beyond that, we'd like to get more resources in, but we're cut off by road, so we simply have to wait until the road reopens to get more ADF assets and more civilian assets in to help the local people.
That winching effort that we've seen so many amazing pictures of in the past 12 to 24 hours, what do you think about that, the men and women in those situations putting their lives on the line to keep other people safe?
The pilots and the crew of those aircraft, both civilian and ADF, do an absolutely outstanding job. We had 12 civilian helicopters and 2 Black Hawks, joined by another 2 last night. They flew until midnight. The work they do is simply outstanding, the skill and courage of the pilots and the crew. We've seen it in 2010, 11 and in many other circumstances. I take my hat off to them, they're outstanding.
The situation in Brisbane doesn't seem to be as bad as we first thought. What are you hearing about Brisbane at the moment?
Yeah, good news from last night, obviously, with the Bremer River not reaching the expected peak. So a great relief for people, particularly in the Goodna area, who were fearing inundation for the second time in 2 years. So that was a great result. The peak this morning in Brisbane slightly below predictions. That's obviously good news. And we would like to see the rivers go down quickly and get everyone back into the recovery phase, getting their houses cleaned up and getting back to life as normal.
2011 is obviously etched in the memories of everyone in Brisbane. Do you think that's obviously played in favour to the people of Brisbane in terms of preparing for this disaster?
I think so, and I think everyone heeds the warnings about evacuations and the messages about getting out while you can. Sadly, the messages around driving through flooded creeks still hasn't got completely through, and we've lost 3 people in this current flood emergency who have died trying to cross swollen creeks. I just say to those people again, if you're going to take that decision, if it doesn't ultimately cost you your life, it could well mean police and emergency services having to put their life at risk to come and rescue you. So if it's flooded, forget it, is the message. We hope everyone adheres to that. We don't want to see any more loss of life. We don't want to see any more grieving families.
Just on that, the emergency services are obviously strained at the moment. They're working big hours. Fatigue, is that starting to set in? Is that something that you're concerned about?
Certainly it is. I can only talk from the police perspective. We've already sent another 24 police officers into Bundaberg, and we'll be making efforts at the moment to start providing more relief to the officers there. They'll be completely exhausted in another 12 or 24 hours, so we've already started that effort. But as I said, because we can't get people in by road, we're having to fly extra officers in from either the north or the south to supplement the officers who are very weary and have done a fantastic job up there.
Just lastly, Ross, logistically speaking, you must be breathing a sigh of relief given that Brisbane has sort of dodged a bullet at the moment.
Absolutely. We certainly didn't want to see a repeat of 10 and 11. We all saw what impact that had, not only on the communities on the fringe of the river, but in the CBD, the business areas and the low-lying areas. We've avoided a lot of that. Everyone's grateful for that. It makes the job of dealing with the recovery so much easier.
Ross Barnett, thanks very much for speaking with us.
Pleasure.
Bill, back to you.
All right, thank you, Michael, for that update.